The story of Esther in the Bible is found in the book of Esther. It tells the tale of a Jewish woman named Esther who becomes queen of the Persian Empire and uses her position to save the Jewish people from a plot to annihilate them. The story begins when King Ahasuerus, also known as King Xerxes, holds a grand banquet where he displays his wealth and power. During the festivities, he commands his wife, Queen Vashti, to appear before the guests, but she refuses. The king, angered by her disobedience, decides to strip her of her title and find a new queen. A search for a new queen begins throughout the empire, and Esther, a young and beautiful Jewish woman living in Persia under the care of her cousin Mordecai, is chosen as one of the candidates. Esther is taken to the palace and undergoes a year of beauty treatments before being presented to the king. He is captivated by her beauty and chooses her as his new queen, without knowing she is Jewish. Meanwhile, Mordecai, who works at the king's gate, overhears a plot to assassinate the king. He informs Esther, who reports it to the king in Mordecai's name. The plot is investigated, and the conspirators are executed. However, the king fails to properly reward Mordecai for his loyalty. A new character is introduced to the story, Haman, an influential and prideful official in the king's court. Haman harbors a deep hatred for the Jews, especially Mordecai, who refuses to bow down to him. Seeking revenge, Haman convinces the king to issue a decree to annihilate all the Jews in the kingdom on a specific day. Mordecai learns about Haman's plan and urges Esther, who has kept her Jewish identity a secret, to go before the king and plead for the salvation of her people. However, approaching the king without being summoned is punishable by death, and Esther is hesitant. Mordecai responds with a now famous line, saying, "Who knows? Perhaps you have come to royal dignity for such a time as this." Esther bravely accepts the challenge and devises a plan. She invites the king and Haman to a banquet and, on the first night, asks them to return the next day for another banquet. Meanwhile, Haman, upon passing by Mordecai, who still refuses to bow to him, builds a gallows to hang Mordecai. That night, the king can't sleep and orders the chronicles of his reign to be read to him. In the records, he is reminded of the time when Mordecai had saved his life by revealing the assassination plot. Intrigued, the king asks what honor had been bestowed upon Mordecai for his loyalty and is shocked to find out that nothing had been done for him. The next day, Haman comes to the second banquet expecting to enjoy the favor of the king. However, before he can make his request, the king asks him how a person should be honored. Assuming the king is referring to him, Haman outlines an elaborate ceremony. But to his horror, the king orders Haman to carry out this very ceremony for Mordecai, to honor him for saving the king's life. Haman is humiliated as he complies with the king's command. Later, at the banquet, Esther reveals her true identity as a Jew and pleads with the king to save her people from Haman's plot. In a fit of rage, the king orders Haman to be hanged on the very gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. In a final act of justice, the king allows Esther and Mordecai to draft a new decree that allows the Jews to defend themselves against their enemies. On the appointed day, the Jews are able to successfully defend themselves and emerge victorious. The story of Esther concludes with the establishment of the festival of Purim, which is celebrated to this day as a remembrance of the deliverance of the Jewish people. It serves as a reminder of God's faithfulness and the bravery and courage of Esther and Mordecai in saving their people from destruction.